Bismillah. For years, I thought training hamstrings at home in some kind of calisthenics way was not really that feasible. And the only thing that I would find when I'd look it up, going back for years, especially like summers where I was doing internships away from home, and for years, I thought that you couldn't train hamstrings at home. You could do squats, right? You could do single leg squats. Yeah, like if you have a bar, you could do pull-ups. Sorry, I'll rephrase that point. For years, I thought you could train everything except for hamstrings, right? You could train your shoulders, you could train your chest, you could train your back, as long as you have a bar, right? You can do all of those things. You don't need weight. You just need time and energy. And I thought just the hamstring component wasn't possible. And then today I was reading the comment section of a video on a guy who was saying like, oh, you can train everything on the road, but his video didn't really include legs that much. Like he had single leg squats as his thing, and his upper body's super developed, his legs are more underdeveloped, at least proportionally. And in the comments somebody was like, oh, you just have to do ring curls. And I looked that up, and I think it's pretty cool. And I think if you have the pull-up bar and you have rings, very feasible, right? I think it's a good setup and a good way to train your hamstrings. But then I realized I was like testing some things out. I don't have rings, and I remember seeing people talk about bridge, like isometric essentially exercises for your glutes or for your, for your glutes. And so I was like, okay, let me just do one of those right now before my run. And I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and then I was talking to my dad about this for a while. But so I tested it out, and let me see if I can show you guys, if I can show you. But here, let's see. So the setup that I'm talking about is you take your legs and you kind of just set them, you lean back and you go up right here, right? And you hold this and maybe one leg, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, like it's a good way to engage your glutes, right? And doing isometric exercises can be solid. Yielding isometric exercise, very solid. But just laying on my back, right? Just laying on my back right here, I was like, what if I try it? I was thinking about this. I was like, what if I try putting my legs up here? And then all I did, the only shift I made is I went from my back to my hands, right? And I put them up here, and boom, right? I can bring my butt, if I set it up right, I can bring my butt all the way up here. That's a leg curl, bro. That's a full, that is a leg curl. You 100% can train everything at home if you have a bar. You can train literally everything. My God. Push, pull, right? Horizontal, vertical, vertical, squats, hinge, right? This is the part that I was struggling with, right? And man, I think hinge has to be broken up into like two components, right? I think it is kind of hard to substitute deadlifts, which is why I was so stuck on this, especially the summers where I was away from home. And I was like, I didn't have the mobility to go to a gym like consistently. It wasn't close enough to my apartment or my work. And so I was like, okay, I'll just train from home, but I guess I'll just miss out on hinge kind of to some extent. And I would kind of do like body weight, single leg deadlifts and things like that. And I did some of the glute bridge stuff, but my hamstrings did get weaker proportionally during those summers. And I was like, okay, yeah, like I've like built up some strength in my legs from more running and things like that. But this whole time, it was that simple. And you can do this from a bar if you can put your feet on something in front of you. Again, the higher up your feet are relative, or where your heels are relative to your butt, like the bigger the differential, the more weight, and the harder it is, the more load. So you can also do this in a hanging setup, and if you have elbow straps or like ab straps, or if you have grips, right? I'm blanking right now. What's it called? I have these, right? I took a belt and I cut it in half. Grip. Right. Grip support. I don't know. My brain is blanking right now. Like that, right? Grip straps. Weightlifting straps. That's what I was looking for. If you have those, it's also super easy to set up. And if it hurts to put your palms straight, like if you have a pair of dumbbells, and you can get a light pair of dumbbells, right? Just so that you can put your hand on these instead of all the way, take some of the pressure off of your wrists, at least. But man, you can 100% train all of your body from home. And for years, calisthenic peeps have been, because it's not part of their competitions, right? Like having strong hamstrings is not super necessary for a lot of these people. Like a lot of them will be able to do single leg squats and things like that and other cool things. And I'm not saying that they all have weak hamstrings, right? To do a lot of those single leg activities, you do need strong hamstrings too, but you 100% can directly train do targeted training of your hamstrings, not just your back, not just your shoulders, not just your chest, not just your knees, right? And so something that's important to mention is you have Nordics, right? If you have like a couch or something that you can put your feet against, right? And then a cushion that you can put underneath your knees, right? And just like you can do Nordics, right? But there are some limitations on that, and I think this is an easier exercise to incorporate for beginners. And it's just years, right, bro? Years I spent thinking that there just wasn't a way. And I'm being super repetitive, but I think that's so cool that you really, really can with just that handful of movements, right? So for your push, horizontal and vertical, right, you have your push-up or dip, and then you have your pike push-ups or handstand push-ups, wall supported handstand push-ups for your shoulders, and your vertical push. And then for pull, you have your pull-ups, and you can do, if you can put your feet somewhere, you can do rows, or if you have just a lower bar, you can do rows or Australian pull-ups. And then if you're strong enough and you can bring your feet all the way up, you can do upside down pull-ups, which are pretty close to a row, a little bit harder. Fun thing, I guess I'll show you me doing those. I think it's a fun thing to show off. Alhamdulillah, I can do them. Here, right, and then depending on how far, my arms tucked, right, my upper body is relatively flat, right, yeah, so you can do rows at home. And then you have your squats, your single leg squats. So much, man. So many years that I went thinking that it wasn't possible, and it really is. It's so possible. So you have your squats, your lunges, and you can make those things harder and easier, even without weight. But again, this really pushes how far you can go without weight. And if you want to get really crazy strong, right? You want to get a crazy deadlift, yes, you will have to either get a barbell and weights or go to a gym. But you can get super strong, right? Without any of that, even in the hamstrings, which is my big takeaway. So yeah, you have, so for your posterior, right, chain, you have the you have the Nordics, and then these leg curls where your ankles are set either with the rings or you put them on something. But yeah, and then for your front, besides squats and reverse Nordics and the like Bulgarians or lunges, Bulgarian split squats or lunges, you have those. And then for the front, you could do leg raises laying down or hanging from a bar. Anyways, that's my super unorganized yap on core movements and why you really can train your whole body, including your hamstrings, to a very strong extent. So yeah, keep pushing away. If someone tells you that you need to go to a gym to get strong, tell them that's cap. All right, sit down. Keep taking small steps.